after that, at 6 o'clock, as Maharaj mentioned, that there will be a prasad served upstairs, and at 7 o'clock then we will have the darshanarti. Okay? So that will be the structure of the program. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Okay, thanks again for coming to the Sunday Feast program. What I will do is I will bring one of the verses from chapter 7, okay, which is entitled as Knowledge of the Absolute. And the verse number is 14. So the verse is Devi Esha Gunami Mama Maya Gurutvaya Mameve Prapadante Mayametam Karandita. So Krishna is advising here to Arjuna, and the translation of that verse is that this divine energy of mind, consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So I'll read a bit of the purport that is written by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. Previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination with the inferior nature, that is matter, their illusion is also eternal. Okay? So here in the 7th chapter, the knowledge of the Absolute, Krishna is talking about his both material and spiritual entities. Okay? Now the reason Krishna is discussing this is because chapter 6, okay, which is the previous chapter of the Vedic, it ends with a definition of who is the yogi. Okay? Who is the yogi? Now, every one of us, we go to the temple for meditation. We want to meditate on something. Although we may not have the clarity on what we want to meditate on right now, but that is what Krishna is telling us who is the topmost of yogi at the end of chapter 6. Okay, he says at the end of chapter 6 that one who thinks about me constantly, that person is a yogi. That person is a yogi. Now the question is, how do we think about Krishna constantly? How do we do that? Especially more so in this verse where Krishna is saying that Daivenisha Mama Maya Gurutvaya. This Maya, that this material nature is very difficult, Durataya, very difficult to overcome. End of chapter 6, Krishna is saying, think about me all the time. And in the middle of the chapter 7, he is saying it's very difficult to overcome the material nature. So how do we manage that? Okay? And that is where the glory of chapter 7 actually begins. At the very start of the chapter 7, Krishna says to Arjuna, Tat Shrum. That means now you hear from me how to do that. How to do that. Okay? And from verses 1 to verse number 12, Krishna goes on describing both his material and spiritual energy. Okay? He says that Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, that I am the taste of water. How many times do we drink water during the day? Many times. Right? So what Krishna is saying that every sip that we take, the taste that we get, we can perceive him through that taste. He is saying that I am the sun, I am the moon. Okay? Sun and the moon, practically they are there for 24 hours. Okay? So every time you go out, you can perceive Krishna's presence. Okay? Honestly speaking, how many of us can do that? Can we think, when we drink water, when we go out, how many times we actually realize or understand, actually this is Krishna's creation, this is Krishna. It's very difficult. Why? Because we come in contact with the three modes of material nature. Does anyone know what are the three modes of material nature? Yes, very good.
Ignorance and
Mode of ignorance and third one? So sattva gun, that is the mode of goodness. Okay. So we have three modes of material nature. They are mode of goodness, that is called as in Sanskrit as sattva gun. Then mode of passion, that is rajagun, and mode of ignorance, that is tamagun. Okay. So depending on the time of the day, we might be in one of those modes. Especially morning time, it is said that it is very conducive, very helpful, very good for meditation, spiritual activities. Okay. Usually people are in the mode of goodness in the morning times. Okay. What we call it as a Brahma Muhurt, that is the 48 minutes before the sunrise. Unless, of course, you are having a night out, right? Full all night in the nightclub. Okay. And then you say that now it's a Brahma Muhurt, I will go to temple. No, that's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works. For it to happen, you need to have your life regulated as well. Okay? Only then, when you wake up early in the morning for meditation, it will have greater impact. Okay? So Krishna is telling his energies up until verse number 12. And then 13 and 14, he discusses the three modes of material nature. Okay? And that how every one of us is impacted and controlled by these three modes. But then the second line of that verse is also very important. One who surrenders unto me, can easily cross over these three modes. Why? Because Krishna is the one who created those material nature. Now, if you go to a creator, he will know exactly how to overcome those obstacles as well. Okay? But what happens is, in between comes our mind. Meditation. How do we do meditation? Through our mind. We want to meditate on that higher energy. We want to meditate on the Lord. But our mind plays tricks on us and stops us from meditating. You sit down for meditating, you sit down to do anything productive. Our mind tells us to do something else. Why? Because we are influenced and governed by our desires, by what we have done in the past. And we are always worried what is going to happen in the future. Okay? Mind, it adds the past and future in our present and destroys it. Okay? And it destroys it. Adds our past. We're always thinking about past, what we have done. The mistakes, the good things, the bad things. Okay? It brings about everything. The memories, the things that we have done. Adds it to our present. Mind also thinks about future. What will happen in the future? If I do this now, will my future be secure? What do I have to do now so that my future is secure? Okay? So, with that one, it becomes a mixture of our past and future. We bring it to present and we don't live in the present either. And because of that, we are not able to meditate. And because of this thing, okay? Because of this thing, you are in the middle of something, ting goes on. Right? And what happens? We get distracted very easily. Very easily. Because there is lots and lots of distractions. And mind is such, it plays games with our whole body, our life, and in turn our society as well. Okay? Mind is it's actually an acronym when you think about it. It actually magnifies the problems. Mind. Okay, the M. It stands for, it magnifies problems. Okay? And then it imagines pleasures. Okay? I. That it imagines pleasures. And then N, it neglects the opportunities. Why? Because we are mixing the past and future. And that's why we are missing out on the current, present opportunities. And then D, it denies the reality. Okay? It denies the reality. We live our life in denial. So that is the mind. Okay? It magnifies the problem. Okay? Very good example, right? How we magnify our problem. And when we have a small problem in our life, we focus on it so much. We focus on it so much that it blinds us and we don't see anything beyond that problem. A good example, when I was listening to one of the talks, the person mentioned, take a 50-cent coin. Okay? 50-cent coin is this big. Put it in front of your eyes, close to your eye. Okay? Close to your eye. If you do that, it can block the sun as well. Okay? It can block the sun as well. It will block the whole entire beauty around us. Why? Because that 50-cent coin is very close to our eye, too close. It blinds the whole entire world around us. And that is what that small problem it does to us when we focus too much on it. When we give too much importance to that small problem. Why? Because we are bringing close to us. We are actually holding on to close to our heart. The problem is very small, but we are bringing close to us, bringing close to our heart, and that blinds us, which stops us from looking at anything else. What to speak about? Meditation. What to speak about? Meditation. Because our life is consumed with that one small tiny problem. Okay? Everyone in this world has problems. Everyone in this world has problems. But everyone thinks that their problem is the unique one. And their problem, the one that they are facing, is the biggest one. Everyone thinks that. Okay? That's why we need to get the help from the wisdom that is given in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? In Bhagavad Gita. And understands, it is systematically described in Bhagavad Gita how to deal with the problems of our mind. Mind is very flickering. It's very chanchal. Chanchal. Arjuna says that Chanchalam mana Krishna pramatim Bhagavad Gita. Tasyaham nigraham manne vayava sudushkara. My man means mind. How is my mind? Very chanchal, very flickering. Pramatim Bhagavad Dridam. It is very obstinate. Very strong and very obstinate. Okay? Arjuna is saying, I can control the wind, vayava sudushkara, but I cannot control my mind. Now, Arjuna, who is considered to be a Raj Rishi, meaning he is also a yogi. He is speaking 5,000 years ago, when there was no Facebook, no Instagram, no WhatsApp, no distractions. Okay? At that time, Arjuna is saying that it is very difficult to control the mind through the process of yoga. Okay? Because in chapter 6, Krishna describes the Ashtanga Yoga. Okay? And Arjuna says that, give me something user-friendly. Give me something user-friendly which I can implement in my life. Okay? The Ashtanga Yoga process that you have given to me, Krishna, is very difficult. I cannot implement that. And this is where Krishna then goes on. And this is where chapter 7 to 12. Okay? They're right in the middle section of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. Okay? So middle section from chapter 7 to 12. These are the 6 chapters. No? Krishna is explaining the Bhakti Yoga, topmost yoga system. How to perform the Bhakti. Okay? So what we have to do is, we have to learn to ignore our mind. But our mind is like a jigsaw puzzle. How many of you have solved or at least attempted to complete the jigsaw puzzle? Okay? I have, some of us have. What happens when you get right towards the end, but that one piece you can't find it. It's actually missing. Okay? You completed whole section of the jigsaw puzzle, but right in the middle, if that one piece is missing, what happens? Frustration comes, right? It's very unsatisfactory. Something is missing, and you always keep on thinking, where is that one missing puzzle? Piece has gone. Our life is also like that. Okay, what we always look for is what we don't have. Okay. We're always focusing on what we don't have. When you think about that example of jigsaw puzzle, practically you have solved the whole entire puzzle. And that some puzzles I know there is 500 piece puzzle, there is 1,000 piece puzzles. Okay. But that one single piece, if that is missing, okay, the whole effort we feel like it's unfulfilling, unsatisfying. Right? Same thing happens with our life as well. We have everything. If you are sitting in Australia, okay, Melbourne, one of the best cities to live in. Okay, we're the very few lucky ones. Melbourne is considered one of the best cities to live in. Okay, 5 years in a row, I think. Okay, it's been ranked 5 years in a row, one of the best cities to live in. So if you're in Melbourne, best city to live in, shouldn't you be very happy? Right? Shouldn't we all be very happy because we're living in the best city in the world? But yet, we have issues, we have problems, and they are mostly created because of our mind. Because we go looking outwardly. When we have everything, we go looking outwardly for our happiness, for our peace, for our satisfaction. And on top of it, we're always looking for validation from others. Wait a minute, how many likes do we get on Facebook? If I post a picture, how many likes do I get? If I get less number of likes, what happens? There is teenagers, right? They're going into depression because they are not getting enough likes on their posts. Why? Because they are dependent on others for their happiness. Can you imagine one electronic like is going to make happy? So that's where our happiness has come down. Okay, that's where our happiness is come down to. So it is very important how we associate with our own mind. Okay. What is the influence? How we are influenced by our own mind? Because we are influenced by our thoughts. That's why it becomes very important where our thoughts they come from. Okay. Which books our thoughts are coming from. Because that is going to govern or give us happiness to our mind. Okay? So, when you think about it, the association, that's why we say that if you associate with the people who have greater goals in life, you start to think like them, you start to behave like them. That's why we need to find people who are actually playing or living their life at that level. Okay? A fly sitting on a wall has no value. A fly which is sitting on a wall has no value. But if the same fly sits on a gold when it's weighed, okay, the same fly, if it sits on a gold when it's weighed, its value increases, right? It's the same flag, right? If it's sitting on a wall, it has zero value. But if the same flag sits on a gold while it's being weighed, the value of the flag goes up. Why? Because now it is associating with the gold. Same thing will happen with us, depending on who we associate with, who we spend our time with. So choose your friends wisely. Reason for that is they are going to decide your value. Okay? They are going to decide your happiness. Okay? Because humans are social. We are very social. So without friends we cannot live. Okay? So it depends. It is actually very important who we spend our time with. Because they will decide our happiness. It is said that you become the average of 5 people that you spend time with. You become the average of 5 people that you spend time with. So, be very careful when you are making friends. Okay? Now, what gives the happiness, the most happiness? Now, I'm going to move a little bit towards Ramayana. The reason for that is 4 days ago, okay? Today is 21st. 4 days ago, on 17th of April, we celebrated Ram Navami. Because of the Ram Navami, that is the birth of Lord Ram, the appearance of Lord Ram. Now, Ramayana, when you read, you will notice that it's all about tyag or sacrifice. And I will also connect it how sacrifice is related to the happiness as well. How sacrifice is related to happiness. Now, what does sacrifice mean? Sacrifice meaning you are giving up something. Okay, sacrifice means you are giving up something. So if you are giving up something, how that's going to make you happy? If you are giving up something, how does that make you happy? Here, we see that the sacrifice that is done by Lord Ram for his father. So sacrifice of a son for his father. Sacrifice of a wife for her husband. Sacrifice of a husband for his wife. Sacrifice of a brother, that is Lakshman. There is a lot more sacrifices that we see through our entire Ramayana. Okay? These days I am teaching my son chess. Just as the game of chess. In game of chess, what happens is that sometimes you have to sacrifice a minor piece. Okay? Sometimes you have to sacrifice a minor piece, pawn or something else, to win that game. To win that game. So same way, in life as well, you have to sacrifice something to win the game of life. Okay? Unless we sacrifice our bad habits, that could be drinking alcohol, eating meat. Okay? Unless we sacrifice those, you are not going to win the game of life. Unless we sacrifice our sense gratification. Okay? That is the gratifying our minds, our pleasures, worldly pleasures. Okay? There is a greater sense of satisfaction and happiness in sacrifice. Think about it when a child is crying bitterly throughout the night because he is sick and he is suffering. Mother stays up all night. The father. Okay? Or in some cases, both mother and father, they stay up all night. Sacrifice their sleep. Sacrifice, even though they are dead tired. They are willing to sacrifice, they are ready to sacrifice to look after the child. And when they sacrifice that, right, it gives them satisfaction that they are looking after the baby. So that is what the sacrifice does to us. It gives satisfaction at a higher level. But first, for that to happen, you have to give sacrifice the sense gratification and the bad habits that we have. Because without that, we cannot do the austerity or tapa. Without sacrifices, you cannot do the tapasya, austerity. Okay? And without that, you cannot meditate. Okay? If I carry the baggage of all these bad habits, meditation is very difficult. Meditation becomes very difficult. Okay? But for that, we need to find inspiration somewhere. For that, we need to find inspiration somewhere. If you remember the story of Hanumanji, before he realized, or before he rediscovered his powers, okay? Where did he get his inspiration from? Who inspired him? Jambavan, thank you. Right? So Jambavan, he himself was very powerful, but he was very old, and somebody had to cross over the ocean in search of Mother Sita. And Hanumanji, obviously, he had the powers, but it's just that because of a curse, he had forgotten it. And that is when Jambavan, he comes in, and he inspires, he reminds Hanumanji that you have lot of power. You have lot of power that you are not even aware of. The things, the Herculean tasks that you can do. Okay? It's just that we need to remind him. He needed that reminding that he has the powers to cross over the ocean in one jump. And when Jambavan inspires Hanumanji, he stands up on that mountain, Mandara mountain. Okay? And that is when we say that the birth of a real hero happens. Okay? Because he saw the challenge in front, And Jambavani inspired Hanumanji. And he stood on that mountain, and from that mountain he took a jump towards Lanka. Right? So same way, we're all facing challenges in our life. And the birth of a hero only happens when there is a mountain of challenges. Okay? When there is a mountain of challenges, only then we need our powers and we will realize it. Okay? All of us are facing difficulties. We just have to stand on that mountain of challenges and have self-belief. Take inspiration from higher authorities, where in the Hanuman's case it was Jambu. Okay? So same way, the day we find our own Jambu, our own spiritual inspiration, we will realize the Hanumanji inside us. Okay? We just need that one person, one spiritual guide who can give us the direction. Then we will realize the potential and power within us to control our own mind. Okay? Which then in turn will help us meditate. Okay? So, in Ramayana we have Ayodhya, where Sanskriti was followed. Now Sanskriti means culture, cultural values. That was followed. In Lanka, Vikruti was followed. Vikruti means bad habits. Okay, very mildly good. Okay, lowest of the lowest habits. And in between, where was Hanumanji from? Kishkinda. Okay, Hanumanji was from Kishkinda. In Kishkinda, Prakriti was followed. So in Ayodhya, Sanskriti, that is cultural value, that was followed. In Lanka, Vikruti, that is all the demoniac qualities or demoniac habits, they were followed. And in Kishkinda, where Hanumanji was, Prakriti was followed. Prakriti means natural habits. Okay, meaning that take example of Vali. Vali was also meaning he was also part of Kishkinda. He was totally a demonic person. He was following Vikruti. Sugri, okay, who was Vali's brother. Sometimes he was following Vikruti, that is Lanka's way of life. Sometimes he was following Sanskriti, that is Ayodhya's way of life. So he was confused. Didn't know what to follow. Sanskriti, Vikruti, Prakriti. Okay? So we fall into the same category as Sugri. Sometimes we follow Lanka, Vikruti. Sometimes we follow Ayodhya. Monday to Friday, generally, what happens is, what about Sanskriti? Little bit Sanskriti. As soon as the weekend comes, Friday night comes, what happens? Some people, few people are laughing, smiling. Vikruti takes over, right? Lanka, Ravan, right? It comes out, that takes over. So this is what Krishna is saying as well. 3 modes of material nature. Okay? Sometimes we're in Ayodhya, sometimes we're in Lanka. But just like Sugri, what we need to become is like Hanuman. Okay? Living in Kishkinda, okay? Living in Kishkinda, he never ever followed Lanka. In fact, Hanumanji actually burned down Lanka. Yeah? So same way, with the help of our spiritual guide, we also need to burn down the Vikruti or the bad habits in us. To conquer over Lanka. To conquer over our mind. So that it becomes easier than to follow the Sanskriti, that is the life of Ayodhya. Okay? Because of these Vikrutis, because of these demoniac qualities or influences, okay, we are not able to follow the way of Ayodhya, way of cultural life. Okay? That comes in between. Okay? Monday to Friday, it's probably a, I would say, little bit smooth, straight life. Friday night, that's it, everything goes down the track. Okay? That is what happens. That is where we recommend to control the mind, to chant the mantras or to pray to the Lord. To pray to the Lord. Why? Because He is the one who has created this material world. Who best to advise us how to get out of this material world? Go to the Lord Himself. Go to the Lord Himself. He will guide us. And that is what He is also suggesting That is also he is advising us in Bhagavad Gita. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya dridavatam namasyantasya mam bhaktam nityukta upasate. Okay? Satatam kirtayanto mam. Some of you might know the meaning of word satat. Okay? Satat means all the time, always, nirantar, without break. What to do? Kirtan. Chant my glories. The first two words itself is not possible, right? How can we chant all the time? It's not even possible to chant sometimes. Krishna is saying chant all the time. That is why. Okay? And on top of it, he is saying that how to chant? Dridhavrata, with determination. Okay? With determination. And when we do that, then we will be able to conquer our mind. Okay? So prayers play a very important role in our life. Okay? In Bhagavatam, practically, entire Bhagavatam is nothing but prayers. Okay? You see that in the start of the Bhagavatam there is prayers of Arjuna, then comes prayers of Kunti Maharani, okay? Then comes prayers of the sages of Naimisharanya. Okay? Third canto, there are prayers again offered by demigods to Lord Krishna. Okay? Entire Bhagavatam you will see that there are prayers. And we're very briefly going to discuss a couple of those prayers by Gajendra and Dhruva Maharaj's prayers. Okay? Now Gajendra was an elephant, okay, who was a king in his previous life. But somehow or other he did some mischief or some mistake and then he has fallen down and become an elephant. However, even in that elephant body, he remembered the prayers at the right time. Okay? He remembered the prayers at the right time. Because there was a big struggle, big fight between that elephant and a crocodile. And that went on for a long time. And no matter what, Gajendra, he was not able to conquer or get rid of this crocodile who was after his life. He tried everything. He tried everything. His family members, they were watching because this fight was happening in a lake. And these family members, they were watching from the shore. Right? And they were not able to help. They were not able to help him. So finally, he then surrenders to Lord Vishnu. And he says that, now Lord, I'm your soul surrendered. Please come and save me. And as soon as he says that, okay, as soon as he says that, Lord Vishnu himself he comes down, sitting on a Garuda, and then he protects Gajendra. And those prayers, they have become very famous by Gajendra Moksha. Okay, the pastime, this story is called as Gajendra Moksha pastime. This is the example where Gajendra, he was in distress. Where he was in distress and he came to Lord Vishnu. Okay. And I will discuss we're going to also discuss why I picked these two examples. Okay. The second example is Dhruva Maharaj. Some of you might have heard about Dhruva Maharaj. Okay. Now he was only a 5-year-old child. He was only a 5-year-old child. And all he wanted to do was sit on his father's lap. And his stepmother, she says that no, you are not eligible to sit on your father's lap. Go, you have to take birth as my son next life, only then you can sit on my father's lap. And obviously Dhruva Maharaj, he was only 5-year-old, he became very angry. Okay? He became very angry. And this is the episode that is discussed in Bhagavatam as Krodha Pradarshan. Krodha means anger and Pradarshan means display. Okay? So this section is discussed as display of anger or Krodha Pradarshan. And he goes to his mother and he tells her what happened. You know, all I wanted to do was sit on my father's lap, and the stepmother, she didn't allow me. Now Suniti, the name is also very apt. Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti. And she has a good niti, good brain, vivek, consciousness. So she advises him, if you want, and then Dhruva says that, now what I want is a kingdom greater than my grandfather. Not my father, but my grandfather. Now Dhruva's grandfather is Lord Brahma. He wanted kingdom greater than Lord Brahma's kingdom. So his mother Suniti, she advises him very aptly to go and pray to Lord Krishna. Okay? And then you will get the kingdom bigger than your grandfather, Lord Brahma. So he goes into the forest, and he's only, please keep in mind that he's only 5-year-old child. Okay. So he goes into the forest where he meets Narad Muni. He meets Narad Muni. Now Narad Muni is trying to, take him away from his path for tapasya or austerity. He says, why not go into the forest? There's lots of animals, they will harm you, they will eat you, they will kill you. We don't need to do this. You're only 5-year-old child. Go home. But Dhruv Maharaj is very determined. So all Narad Muni wanted to do was check his determination. To check his determination. And when Dhruv Maharaj, when he doesn't give up on his quest for the kingdom greater than Lord Brahma's, that is when Narad Muni says that now you take this mantra and you meditate on it, you will get that. So only in 6 months, when Dhruv Maharaj is meditating, only in 6 months. Okay, so that is actually, Bhagavad mentioned that Suniti and Narad Muni. Okay, first episode is Krodha Pradarshan, that is display of anger. They, Suniti and Narad Muni, they do the Margadarshan. Okay. Margadarshan means guidance. They guide him. Through that Margadarshan or guidance, what leads to is Dhruv Maharaj performing the Ananya Bhajan. That is the one-pointed meditation or Kirtan. Bhajan means Kirtan. So he is chanting that mantra. And through that one-pointed meditation or Ananya Bhajan, that leads to Lord Vishnu. That is Bhagavad Darshan. He himself comes down, okay, and touches the conscience to Dhruv Maharaj's head. And as soon as Lord Vishnu touches that conscience to Dhruv Maharaj's head, he gets all the knowledge. And when that knowledge, which is what the chapter 7 is, the absolute truth, Dhruv Maharaj says that I don't want anything now. Okay, I don't want anything now because I got everything and I know what is the purpose of life. However, Lord Vishnu or Krishna, he said, now because I am here, now because you have done the tapasya, you are going to get the fellowship, that is the benefit or benediction of your tapasya. And he gives them the pole star, planet bigger than this universe. Why it's bigger than this universe? Because it is said that towards the end of this yuga, the whole entire universe is going to get destroyed. Right? But through Tara or that pole star, it stays as it is. It doesn't get destroyed. Okay? So through Krodha Pradarshan, he got proper Margadarshan. And through that proper Margadarshan, that led to Ananya Bhajan, which gave him Bhagavad Darshan. Okay? So only through prayers. Now in this Dhruv Maharaj's example, okay, his desires were material. He wanted something material. Kingdom bigger than Lord Brahma. In first example, Gajendra, he was under a lot of stress, he was distressed. And he turned to Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu protected him. Dhruv Maharaj, he wanted material things. So he turned to Lord Vishnu. We also are in the same boat. And Krishna describes that after the verse 14, the one that we discussed, 15 and 16, okay, it says that who surrenders and who do not surrender. Pious people, they surrender, and impious, obviously, they don't. Namam dushkritino mudha. Dushkritino mudha. Meaning people who perform their abominable activities or impious people, they do not surrender. And then later on he says, Chaturvida bhajante mam janasu kritino arjuna. Artho artharthi jinnasu dhyanicha bharadash. And then 4 types of people, they surrender. People who are in distress, people who are after money, people who are after knowledge, and people who are bhaktas, they surrender or inquisitive. They surrender. Okay. So our prayers, okay, they always have 4 components to it. When we are praying to the deities, okay, after this program, when you go and stand in front of Lord Krishna, first thing that we should do is praise. we should praise the Lord. If we don't know the prayer, there is a simple mantra that we can chant, that is the Hare Krishna mantra. That is actually praising the Lord. That actually encompasses or has everything in it. Okay? Praise the Lord. Second thing, gratitude or say thank you. Show the gratitude. Remember the example of jigsaw puzzle. We're focusing on what is missing. Okay? In that jigsaw puzzle example, we always focus on what is missing, but what we need to do is focus on what we have. When we focus on what we have, only then we can show the gratitude. Otherwise, we cannot. Okay? So the prayers should have gratitude. First, praise. Second, we should show some gratitude to Krishna for what he has given us. Then the third is forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. Why ask for forgiveness? Because knowingly or unknowingly, we might have committed some mistakes. We might have offended someone. That's why we always ask for forgiveness. And then lastly, we request. That means we ask. Okay? So these are the four components to the prayers.
What's last?
Request. That means we're asking for something. Either Gajendra's example, he wanted protection from the crocodile. In Dhruva Maharaj's example, he wanted some material things. So that is requesting something. Okay, so we discussed briefly summarize what we discussed. Okay. So we started off with discussing the three modes of material nature, that is mode of passion, ignorance and goodness. Okay. Which are created by Krishna. Okay. And Krishna is saying they are very difficult to overcome. However, if we surrender to him, it becomes very easy to overcome those three modes of material nature which are governing us, which are governing our mind. Our mind is like solving a jigsaw puzzle. We're focusing on that small problem which blinds us. Because we're focusing on that small problem, we can't see anything else. And it zaps us or saps our energy. And we lose our happiness. Okay? Happiness comes from sacrifices. And that is why we went into Ramayana and then we discussed how the sacrifices they help us. And we went on discussing the example of Hanumanji in jungle. The reason for that is Hanumanji had the powers within himself, but he just needed someone external to show him that power, to inspire him. We also need a spiritual guide who can inspire us and push us into the right direction so that we can discover our own powers within us. Yeah? And then we discuss the three examples. Okay, Ayodhya. What is the Ayodhya? Other word related to Ayodhya? Sanskriti. Okay, Sanskriti means culture. Lanka. Vikruti. Right? Demoniac lifestyle or qualities. And then Kishkinda. Prakriti. Okay, Sugriva was confused. Sometimes you'll follow, Monday to Friday you'll follow Sanskriti. Friday night, nightclub. Vikruti. Okay? And then we discussed the example of Gajendra and Dhruva. One was in distress, one was after the material state. Okay? But they both, in all these examples, the good thing is that they both turned to the right authority, where they received the proper margadarshan or guidance. And then they achieved their goal. So thank you so much for listening very patiently. If you have any questions or comments, we can discuss them now. Yes, Guru.
Thanks for the Mahaprabhu. So you mentioned when Lord Krishna appeared to Lord to realize the purpose of life. Can you please explain more about what is the purpose of life?
Thank you so much. So the question is, when Lord Krishna appeared in front of Guru Maharaj, then he realized the purpose of life. Right? And so what is the purpose of life? So that is the question. Thank you, Prabhuji. So as soon as that realization dawned upon Guru Maharaj, he realized that what he was asking for in his prayers, what he was requesting was material. Okay? So then Guru Maharaj says that what I was looking for is the broken pieces of glass. That is the exact words. Okay? When he said that I wanted a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma, he said that I was looking for broken pieces of glass. What I know now is that there is a higher pleasure, there is a higher happiness, greater happiness in the service of God. So that is the purpose of life. That meditation should lead to the service of God. Anyone else? Any other question or comment? No? Okay, thank you so much. So we have Krishna Consciousness here who will now guide us through the meditation of Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.